Hi guys, a joyous Monday to you. Me, Cheryl, Norris, Hopkins, with hashtag no filters. No Sabina again today. She's out enjoying a nice meal with a friend. Good on her, that's what I say. Finding the joy, which I think is going to be the topic for tonight. If you've never joined us before, thanks so much for coming along. If you have, thank you again for cheering up, whether live or in the replay. For those that are new, just to give you a rundown, Sabina and I were having these amazing chats during lockdown where we were sharing what was really going on for us in our worlds and sort of insights and tools. And so we decided we wanted to go live with that. In the last month, it's kind of shifted a little more and it's gone towards what I could call preparing for the future. And that's come about because I've spent a good heap of time during lockdown really exploring what's going on in the world. And there are so many different views and opinions that what I realized, it was less about dialing in and agreeing and aligning with a certain opinion and more about how we could have ease with whatever was coming up, how we could have a sense of inner control, a sense of freedom, right? Because right now, as we know, the world is really in flux. And my perspective that there's going to be a lot more kind of, for many people, a lot of change on so many levels. Now, as always, whatever I share is not the truth, right? I want to invite you to maybe find an insight, a tip, a tool that can make your life easier for you, right? For you and the ones you care about, fundamentally to find your own freedom. And when I speak of freedom, what I'm speaking about for me is that it's basically not really being at the effect of the world around me, as in being pulled around by it, which doesn't mean ignoring it and denying it, but it means being able to observe it without getting sucked in, either in anxiety and fear or pushing back in frustration and anger, which either way means we're tired. I love the idea of being able to kind of swim through the world more and more ease and more of what I would like to create, which is a lot more fun and joy and kindness and delight and pleasure and cheekiness, right? These kind of things. So I'm going to offer it from that space. So if you've watched any of these previous shows and they're available on YouTube, on my page, which is Joyful Bodies Official on Facebook, and on Sabina's page, which is True Drew Uxbridge. In the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've been sharing some different viewpoints. So the first one was very much around questioning how our world's been set up, as in we've been taught a lot of things that I would dare to say have pushed us down a route of kind of fear and anxiety. One crisis after another, which kind of keeps us off our center. And then we've been conditioned to believe that there's a right and a wrong, a good and a bad. And I've invited people to consider that actually, when we come in as kids, there is no right and wrong. We're open to everything and we explore everything. And then that kind of gets pushed out of us or squashed down and replaced with an external system of having beliefs and behaviors that others approve of. And so we spend our time either trying to please the world around us and to fit in, or rebelling and trying to avoid it. Either way, we're tired, right? So I've been kind of looking at sort of how we can explore that and give you an opportunity, if it feels fun, to consider living more on your terms. And today I wanted to kind of share and explore the idea of finding joy, right? Finding the joy in whatever's going on. And you could say, another way of saying it would be looking at whatever lights you up. And that's unique for each of us. So before we dive into it, I just want to take a breather and get us just to get back into our bodies. Because we rush around so much. And right now, the energies of the world are quite intense. The media is non-stop in terms of sharing its perspective of what's going on, which is mostly things that send us into fight and flight, unless we've learned to have more mastery over our body's response. And that doesn't mean numbing out the body. It means actually being able to observe what's going on, even if we have a strong response to it initially, but then be able to come back to our center. So most of the media is pushing on that. We may be having personal issues in terms of our own finances or our own lifestyles, with people in our life, at home, relationships on different levels, our health. So a lot of that can keep us really busy and out there. So let's just take a moment to take a breath. You can close your eyes if you want to, and just breathe normally. I've kind of done this in the last few no filter shows or chats, but most of us are really disconnected from our bodies. And that probably sounds very strange because you're like, well, I live in my body, I move around in it all the time. Most of the time we're in our heads, our minds, our brains, the future, the past, planning, regretting, trying to fix things, trying to control things. We're not very present. When we're present, right now, I'm very much with my body. You notice my pace of speech has slowed down considerably. My body's got very calm because my natural rhythm of breathing is now interacting with a part of the body called the vagus nerve, which runs sort of from here through the main thorax, the main part of your body, the trunk of your body, connecting to all these lovely organs inside. And in being in that kind of just slow, just being with my breath, it tells all those organs everything's fine, it's very safe. And maybe your brain's still rattling away and it's chatting and it's getting distracted. But literally, if you just breathe, you'd start to retrain your body. So right now I've gone very natural breath. I've just naturally gone down to a deeper breath, which went down to my tummy. And again, I've said before, most of us are taught to hold our stomachs in. Just relax, let it go, which allows you to breathe more deeply. So that's a tool I'm going to keep using, right? Because, hi Tanya, welcome along. Thanks for joining me, darling. It's the simplest tool. I can't emphasize enough, at least for me and with clients and just watching how children are, they breathe deeply. The breath's the easiest thing. Like if somebody gets in a panic, for example, somebody's in an accident, what do? We try and get them to breathe and just slow down the breath rather than hyperventilating. Try it, see what happens. So let's explore the idea of finding the joy. I'm going to keep it really simple. I'm going to keep it based on the everyday things as examples and invite you to think about your everyday life. Because it's really easy in the personal development world and self-awareness world to talk about high ordeal, sort of ideals or buffering. I think my internet's just buffered there, so sorry guys. It's interesting, right? What goes on with that? So day-to-day things. So waking up in the morning. What do you usually do? Do you go to the space of, oh my God, I've got this to take care of? Do you just reluctantly throw the duvet off? Do you love, sort of get your body out of bed in the sense that it's just a lump? Just tap into that. What would happen that before well, that's interesting, guys. Get booted off. Seems to happen during this show. Maybe I'm touching on nerves, somebody. So let's go back to that morning thing. When you wake up, what would happen instead of just jumping straight out of bed? You just maybe gently touched your face. And the reason I'm talking about touching your body is because that's what we do with babies and little children. We show them love and caring, in the most part, by just making connection. And your body is an amazing thing, and it's still fundamentally a little baby or a little child inside a big shell, as in it adores touch. We're mammals. Not trying to box this in, but that's one of the definitions that we've taken on. We adore touch. And I know some of us have had trauma around touch, maybe have never even received kind touch. It may seem really strange, the whole idea of even touching yourself. We expect others, our lovers, our children, our pets, others to give us touch. But actually, you've you've got a body, it's your body, you're allowed to touch it. So what happens if you just gave yourself, what would happen if you gave yourself a stroke before you got out of bed in the mornings? And notice how you respond to that idea, whether that freaks you out, whether you think it's weird, whether you feel kind of guilty that you could even take that amount of time. What if you could? Like you can notice right now, I'm just doing different examples of touch that are just really simple, but they're very soothing for the body. So what if you did that? What if you just played with your hair? Whatever it is for you, just to begin to explore what that could be. Because one, it'll connect you with your body. Two, it'll just give your mind a moment, just a breather from going into rush, or it starts to break that pattern, starts to interrupt the pattern. So let's say you've got up. How many of you, particularly women, you get up and you kind of like, you go to the bathroom, you look in the mirror, go, oh my God, how do I look? And you make a judgment of how you look in the mirror. Hey, that's cool. If that works for you and it's fun, knock yourself out. And please, whatever I'm saying here, don't take it as being you have to do this or that I'm right and you're wrong. No right and wrong. Just an experience. So what if instead of going looking in the mirror and going, and you may not do that, you may look in the mirror and go, hey babes, how you doing? Which is cool too. It's not make one better than the other, but just notice which one makes you feel more either more relaxed or more, or gives you a sense of space and ease, or even a sense of like delight. And the only reason I'm speaking about finding the joy is because if our world is constantly giving us messages of like, you must fit in, you must do this, things are going to go wrong, look out, there's not enough security, there's not enough food, there's not enough toilet rolls, there's not enough money, there's a constant fight flight response, or freeze, or fawn, which is nervous system responses. And we're more than just our bodies, right? That we're connected on so many more levels than just body and personality. But I'm going to keep it just here, just for the moment, just to keep it easy for everybody to relate to. Wouldn't you dare say that the things you tend to want to go towards are things that you think you like to do in your as hobbies, or you like to treat yourself to, you do those, or even if in your daily life, we're always striving for what we think will make us happier. And maybe you don't. Maybe that's not true at all. I would dare to say most of what we consume in terms of purchasing or things we do, activities do, we're trying mostly to look for happiness or sense of peace or whatever those words are for you, but definitely something that makes us feel more enlivened than crushes us. And if you've got children or you've got pets, do you scream and shout at them all the time and tell them how ugly they are, how stupid they are, how fat they are, how useless they are? Because if you do, that would probably be deemed, not probably, that would be deemed abuse. But how often do we do it to ourselves, just very subtly with our looks in the mirror, with our when we wake up? So what about if you look in the mirror and you're just going to go, oh, hi. So start where you are. I think I used the analogy last week about learning to ride a bike. No one generally gets on a bike and just rides it hands-free all the way down the street, 20 miles an hour. We get on and we might even feel comfortable in it. We start wobbling. We feel unsteady. We get maybe a helping hand from a parent or an adult, a friend, some stabilizers. And so I'm suggesting things that are really small and easy to kind of get a handle on, just as an example. So let's say you've gone now from the bathroom and you're going to the kitchen. Oh no, you make yourself a cup of tea, coffee, whatever. Can you, instead of just like half asleep, opening up the jar, pouring something in, can you even just be present to the fact that you've got a hand, assuming you've got hands, you can even touch the cupboard door and just be like, wow, I've got a hand. Look what it can do. I can open a jar. Like all these things you might be going, oh, this is ridiculous. It's so simple. What's the point? But these are the things that we're enamored by, the things that we celebrate in our children when they're babies. Their first steps, their first being able to grab something. Because it's thrilling to see them evolve. It's thrilling to support them and encourage them. So I'm inviting you to treat yourself like a baby in terms of your seeing things afresh. Because, for example, if you're in lockdown right now, in terms of you're not able to go out and do the things, all the external things that most of us have been taught are the source of our happiness. Buying things, going to places, being with certain people. They're amazing things. And yet, if our sense of joy, our sense of self is dependent on those and they're unavailable at any time or restricted, well, could that be the source of stress, anxiety, depression, frustration, anger, resentment? All those lovely energy that maybe we love to delight and roll around in, but personally, that's not what I'm choosing. So I've, my whole life, and particularly the last 22 years, have spent a whole heap of time going from trying to thinking that I could control the outside world, my education, my body, my career, trying to have such a handle on those, I thought I'd then feel a sense of ease and peace, safety, realizing that wasn't true at all. And so I began to look at what was really going on the inside. And then I began coaching and teaching and sharing those skills with other people, from kids to directors at big corporates and so on. And I still do that as a part of my adventure in the world. And so what I realized more and more and more, I became much happier, much more relaxed, had much more fun in relationships, in my life as a whole. The more I realized it was my inner world, the way I saw things, the way I perceived things, than it was ever to do with conquering the outside world. And so we've all been taught to conquer the outside world, achieve this level of career, get the partner, get the house, get the education, buy stuff. And again, they're cool things. However, once they're taken away from us, for people that are relying on that, there's a big crash down. So I'm inviting and sharing the possibility that if you can begin to have that sense of success on the inside, that mastery on the inside, that freedom on the inside, you're going to be able to ride anything that's coming up in the world. And I think there's amazing things going to be coming out in the world. I think there's amazing changes. However, there will be disruption and destabilization if things go in the way I think they're going to go, the way that I perceive them that are unfolding. So if we haven't got that stability within ourselves, it's going to be a really tumultuous ride for people. And again, I'm not sharing that from a space of, ooh, make it scary. I'm sharing it from a space of, I'd love for you to pick up some tools and tips and insights that can help you navigate that in a way that's fun for you. And why fun? Well, why the hell not? What's the point in life if it's not fun and joyous? Do you want that? Do you want your children, do you want your friends to have a miserable time, to feel anxious? No. So why would you want that for yourself? And again, remember, I'm not preaching the gospel, I'm sharing possibilities. Okay? So becoming enamored of the fact that you've got a hand that can open a cupboard or open a jar. Let's take it now to getting dressed for the day. Again, how often do we kind of just throw something on or just, oh my God, look at this, or make a judgment about what we're wearing? What if it's the first time you've seen this top? What if it's the first time you've seen the trousers you put on? What if it was somebody else showing you an outfit that they loved and they were showing it to you? What if you could see it in those eyes? What if you could think, oh my God, how amazing, I've got a top I can even wear? And again, this might feel really weird, really uncomfortable, really stupid. Just notice your reaction and or response to the suggestions, right? To me sharing these ideas. Because that might give you an indication of how much you've bought into perceiving yourself, seeing yourself through the eyes of the outside world about what's acceptable. Because I'm really, really pretty certain that babies don't go, oh God, what does the world think of me? Is everybody looking at me? Is everybody judging me? Do I fit in enough? No, 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 no. They're going along their world, exploring, being enamored, being delighted, allowing all the emotions to come through, but not holding on to any one thing. They're very present. So I'm inviting you to get more into that space of discovering what's true for you, right? So we've thrown on some clothes. Let's say we're going to do some work. Let's say we're taking the kids to school. Let's say we're not taking the kids to school. Let's say they're running around the house. Rather than trying to hold on to get them to behave a certain way or rush the kids to school or rush them to get them organized, why not just take a breath? When you want to yell, when you feel like there's not enough time, why not take a breath and go, and just remember, I don't know, just focus on maybe their little smiles or their grumpy tantrum they're having, or them taking too long to walk to nursery. Just take a step back, like a literal step back, but also within your mind's eye, just going, wow, I've got this time right now with my kid. Or right now, my kid's kicking off. It's kind of cute. I might want to throttle them right now, but actually, would I want to be without them? Really? Again, find your own versions, right? Find your own versions. So let's say you've now got some work to do, and work could just be in your spare bedroom right now, or it could be you're traveling on public transport or whatever it is. And I know so many people had the viewpoint that work is something they have to do for money. What if that's what if that's a lie, a story we've been sold? Can I hear you going, oh no, Cheryl, that's so true. I do have to do it for money. Yes, we currently exchange something called money for the work we do. Most of us do. And who says you can't have joy in it? Where's that written as law? I mean, tell me where, because I don't believe it is. And even if it was, so what? You could break it. You could choose for you. Now you might want to go, no, 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 I can't because the people at work are irritating, or it's just so boring, or it's. Do you realize that that's a story that you're telling yourself? Because your colleague could have a different perspective. Somebody else in the office has a different perspective. It's actually a story we tell ourselves. It's like a universal, not universal, it's a societal pattern we've all bought into, or have been sold, and many of us have bought into. That work is something to moan and groan about, that you have to do it, that you're stuck in this and you can't change job because we're in a quote, quote, lockdown stroke world pandemic. All stories. And there may be things you need to do to change that and to equip yourself. Like I'm working with a couple of amazing women right now who are in an industry which, like all industries, are going through its changes. And they're having a sense of ease and calm and curiosity. I've worked with them for about one, I've worked with almost a year on and off, another one for about 6 months. And most of their companies, as in their colleagues, their team, whatever, are not seeing the world that way. They're freaking out. They're worried about their jobs. It's like, but they're working in the same company. They're working on the same team. So what's different? It's their viewpoint, their perspective is different. And therefore, with a perspective which is one in which, and they've got tools and skills and things that I've worked with them and taught them. So yes, they've got a toolkit. And part of what I'm sharing with you now, guys, is to give you some insights. So you can find your own toolkit, or you can take something from what I'm sharing. But both of these amazing women came to me in a state of, feeling overworked, feeling stressed, and maybe having challenges with work colleagues, wondering, not feeling like they were necessarily in control, feeling like they had to kind of fit into the box of what their company or what their industry thought they should be. they weren't able necessarily to be themselves. They wanted to be themselves more, not be a sort of cookie cutter of what was expected. Because there's a lot of peer pressure, right? To fit in, to either moan about things, to get caught up in the gerbil wheel, to constantly get caught up in politics, to fight, to defend, to blame, to protect, all these kinds of things. And they'd got to the stage where they were like, no, this doesn't work for me. So they were looking to take charge of who they were more and more, and not be the effect of what was going on around them. And this is what I'm inviting you guys to. I get excited, right? Stumble over my words. I'm inviting you too, is to be able to find more of the joy in the little things in your daily life, so that you can be more in control of your path, of your world, and less at the effect of the world around you. So let's get back to that scenario of work. And it might be, the response might normally be, again, do I have to? Or an email comes in, it's just like you want to get frustrated with it. Here's an idea. Maybe ask yourself a simple question of like, oh, what if I saw this differently? Like what I'm reading right now on the screen. What if that person doesn't mean what they've just said or just written? What if they're not being a pain in the butt? What if they're not purposely being obstructive? And what even if they are? What if I don't have to get upset about it? What if I can be calm about it? What if I can just take a breath, maybe get up, walk around the room, stretch, look out at the sun, look out at the sky, look at a picture of something I love, I care about. What we're doing here is pattern interrupt, behavioral interruptions. And it will feel weird if it's not your normal way of behaving and responding. I'm not saying that it's incredibly simple. And if it's new, it will feel weird, uncomfortable. The default response will be to just keep doing the same pattern. So, for example, you might need to put a post-it on your laptop, or an alarm on your phone to remind you to interrupt the pattern. But if we don't start to question these things, nothing changes. If you don't start to question, okay, what contribution am I being to my own anxiety, to my own stress, to my own frustration? If you don't start to look at those things, that's going to continue. Because if that's something that is based on how we perceive the world, and that's what I'm suggesting, it's how we view things. Because I can literally be walking down the street with somebody and then get frustrated with something, we walk past, and I find it comical, or I'm really calm about it. But we're both walking down the street looking at the same thing. So it can only be our inner worlds that's creating that response, reaction. And there's a whole heap of patterns and programming experience we've had that then create that reaction. And so I'm doing that as part of what I'm inviting you to, is to start to be aware of it, first instance. And for those who want to go further or want to look at something very specific, feel free to reach out in the comments or drop me an email or whatever it is to chat about that, right? Because maybe we could do something, work together in some way. But it's noticing those reactions in the first place. And if we want to spend our time blaming others for what's going on in the world, for how we're feeling, that we're powerless, that will just continue to occur. Because if you're waiting for everybody else to change or the world to change, and it's always changing anyway, but if you're waiting for a certain outcome, then you're just a puppet on the string. And what about becoming the puppet master, as in at least holding your own strings, right? And not dancing to everybody else's tune. So during those interactions, your work interactions, what if you just start to go, wait a minute, how else can I see this differently? Or Let me literally just get up from my damn machine or off the phone and move my body, because that will change how I feel as well. How do you like to move your body? Maybe you want to just walk up and down, pace up and down the kitchen. Maybe you want to do 5 sit-ups. Maybe you want to, like I do, I love to walk out onto my balcony and literally breathe in fresh air and just look out at the sky and the view. And it might be for 30 seconds, but it just changes where I'm at in that moment. And I've got a whole heap of skills and tools and things. I've been doing this a long time, and I have to use them daily to create. At least I'm choosing to use them daily, because actually I want more and more freedom. I want more and more ease and joy and fun in my life, period. And I'd like to see that on the world more, on the world stage and in the world more, and in so many of our systems and society. But if I'm not being it, I can't be an invitation to anybody else. And that's not to mean that I don't have crunchy, grouchy moments. I totally do. But I spend way more time in the ease and the joy and the delight and playfulness. And when I have a grouchy moment, I really notice it, because I'm like, it feels so weird. So to give you a personal example, my partner, well, one of our cars is in the garage right now, and he rang just to find out when it would be ready. And I could overhear the conversation, and they were talking about the spark plug. One of the spark plugs was stuck. I'm getting geeky. I'm a former engineer. I love cars, so it may mean nothing to you. But they were trying to get a part out of the car, and they were struggling. And they were talking about whether the brakes needed doing and various other bits. So when my partner came off the phone, I could feel me inside kind of going, what are they doing checking the spark plugs at this time? It's end of the working day. They should have done it earlier. They've left the car till later in the day. Why didn't they call you? I felt this like barrage of rant going on inside my world. And I expressed it to a degree to him, right, to my partner. And then I was like, whoa, that's like a fear response. A fear response that if it doesn't get done, something will happen. No, our reaction, that fight, flight response, freeze, fall response, as I speak of, that kind of programming in our body is so strong that there are still areas that might be really tight in my world and obviously in your world. But it's catching ourselves. It's not going, oh my God, I was like out of order there. They were wrong. I was wrong. I shouldn't have had that response. They should have done that. That's caught in that tug of war, which we've been trained to buy into. Everything is training us to go right, wrong, good, bad. Tug of war, tug of war. You're tied up. There's no freedom there. And so once I caught myself doing it, I had that little awareness in my mind. I was like, wow, that triggered some anxiety in me. Or something, right? I don't really care about the label, but I was like, okay, Cheryl, chill out. What will be with the car. It's fine. You're not going to die. The car's not going to die. And even if something gets broken or they need to keep the car overnight, it actually doesn't matter. So I was kind of getting myself out of the state of like wanting to fight, because I go to more fight than I do flight. And that's been my journey, has been unwinding that desire to fight. Not so much physically, although I have in the past, but that's more about protecting people from bullies and stuff, or from being harmed. But I've kind of taken the gloves off mostly now. But still, still in my personality, my energetic, in my behaviors, there's still a bit of a leaning to that. So for me, my journey's been unwinding that. For others, it could be that they try and avoid things, so they do the flight, or they just can't cope with anything and don't try and avoid confrontation or speaking up or doing what's true for them, which is the freeze. Or the fawn. The fawning is like trying to butter up to somebody, kind of like, don't hurt me. I'll try and see you as a friend, or try and be your friend. Right? So they're like the 4 main nervous system responses that on the neuroscience stroke nervous system model we have. And we are more than our nervous systems, but I'm just giving you a little bit of that model, if that's of value. And so I had to really just go, whoa, okay, that was a response, fine. I took a breath, I walked out of the room so I didn't puke up on my partner anymore. And now I'm sharing it, because part of sharing it as well, talking it out, as in not making it shameful when we have a certain response. If we acknowledge that we have a response, acknowledging it in ourselves is the number one thing. But if we're willing to share it with somebody else, and be vulnerable, that also takes the load off. Because if I hold on to everything that I think I've done right or wrong, or should be ashamed of, or embarrassed about, I'm just building that tension up inside of me. And for a lot of people, that creates more stress, anxiety, depression, and can lead to, all sorts of issues, breakdown in the health of the body. And for some people, that leads to them deciding they just can't cope anymore and decide to end their lives. So what if we don't have to go down those routes? Or even, having a blowing up at our partner or our kids, or so many things like, creating more drama in our lives. So what if we don't? What if we can just acknowledge that we chose something like that? Okay, I did that, cool. Use a skill or a tool if we want to beyond that. Maybe share it with somebody, maybe share it with a journal. What is starting to get that, all that wrongness that we buy into about ourselves and about the world, start to basically unclutter ourselves from it, literally peel it off. Because actually inside, you're still that lovely little baby, that lovely little kid that was curious and playful and explored the world and saw it as a delight. Guys, what can I say? This broadband Wi-Fi is having a great time during these Monday nights. Hey, what could I have done? I could have gone into like, oh my God, I'm so wrong. The broadband's gone down. Try and justify what's happening instead of going, oh, that's interesting. I kind of went, stop, because I could feel myself want to go to panic. I was like, no, stop. Take a breath. Check what's going on my phone. Okay, fine. Restart the Wi-Fi. It's going to be okay. So literally, like, this is the thing about interrupting our patterns in the moment. And even take a moment to go, oh, cool. If that's the end of the line, so be it. Somebody's going to have got something from it now or in the future. That's fine. I don't have to make it go a certain length of time. It doesn't have to be perfect. These are the lies we tell ourselves. And this is what keeps us away from our joy, right? Keeps us away from our joy. I mean, what is your joy? What lights you up? What if you just ask yourself that? What lights me up? And it might not be you're running around cheering. It's not about that. I mean, some people that's what they'll look at, but it's the little things. So, for example, I just made just before the show, she says trying to grab a cup, made myself a hot water with some fresh ginger in it. It's like, oh my God. Oh, that tastes so good. My body so loves that. So it's not about, again, going out and spending money on lots of things. It's finding little things. I went for a walk before I got on to do this. And I saw a dad and his two little kids, just picking them up for nursery. And they're walking along like a curbstone. And the little one on the front, and maybe 2 to 3, the little one behind, maybe 4, and then the dad, who knows what wonderful age. The little one at the front was obviously sort of leading the way. And so I looked at him and I said, oh, what's going on here? And the dad kind of said, oh, we're playing Follow the Leader. And I was kind of, really? Can I join in? And the little kid was like, and I said, can I go on the front, on the back? And he was like, so I just jumped on the front and ran on the curbstone in front of them. It was so much fun. And then I stopped, turned around and chatted with them and asked the little one where he wanted to go next. And then wished them goodbye and waved. And as I walked away, the dad smiled and laughed. And as I walked away, I turned around and they were like looking and we just waved. it lit me up on the inside. Little moments, smallest moments. It's finding that in your daily life, right? In your daily interactions. And it might not be as you might not be as exuberant in the way I express myself. It's not about doing it my way. It's finding it for you. It might be you really love to sit down, I don't know, with a newspaper or with your pussycat or whatever it is for you, and just take a couple of minutes, stroke an animal you like, reading a headline. But notice what I would invite you is to look for the things that make you feel as if you go, or make you feel like you're going, excite you, give you a sense of like, you feel more energized after you do them. So the relaxation is a great step in that direction because most of us where we're going, there's no space or access to that relaxation space. So the relaxation space can be a great place to look for initially. And notice things that make you go, make you feel as if there's more space in here and make you feel kind of as if you're walking on air. So what is that for you? What lights you up? Take a moment just to see what pops in. And if nothing pops in, that's fine. After you've done this, after you come off watching this or listening to it, the next thing you do, notice how it feels. Notice how you respond to it. Is it tension? Can you take a breath? A few easy breaths. Look at it, be curious. When you go to fold up a top, I mean, I'm taking it down to really mundane things because I think it's really valuable just to look at a daily life. And we all do these things. So the next time you go to fold a piece of laundry, fold a top, whatever it is, instead of that kind of like, oh, whatever, irritation or even absent-mindedness, how about just looking at it and just going, oh, maybe just studying the shape of it, the color of it, being curious, kind of watching yourself as you fold it. What it's doing, it's giving you an opportunity to get present and connect with what's going on and get out of the madness, the churning of the mind, the tightness in the body. If the things that you really love to do and you know you love to do them and you haven't been doing them, hey, how about making some time every day or every other day to go do them? Going for that walk, going for that run, going to buy that little thing you like from the shop that's £2. Find your own ways because I'd love to invite, and what I'm looking to do, and the reason I'm even doing these little chats, these little hashtag no filters, and that Sabina and I came up with it was basically just to share our world and be an invitation for you to find more of your world, more of your freedom. Because if I'm tapping into what I think and believe is going to show up in the world, the more cray-cray of society and more cray-cray of financial systems, medical systems, legal systems, education system, workspace. I think all of these are going to go through a political space. I think these are all going to go through massive changes. And I think they're going to go through massive change, which will actually be incredibly inspiring because we'll be creating the changes. And we've been sold the idea that these things, you know, all these main systems are set up and we have to obey and fit into them. But we're the people. We are the people that make them systems. Just because we've appointed a politician or a leader of a company, a CEO in organizations to represent or to help lead those scenarios, doesn't mean that they have the final say. We're the ones that enable a system to exist. You may think you have no influence over the legal system or political system, but you do because you choose to either comply or not. And systems change because of individuals. Like right now, if 6 billion, 7, 8 billion people on the planet all went, I'm not wearing a mask, there's not much that anybody could do about it. You know, even if military were called in How many people can they take out? How many people can they arrest? Now, I'm not saying that's what you have to do. I'm just laying it out as an invitation. Actually, all the systems that exist, all of our infrastructure, all of our societal construct is because we agree with it. So if we start to change how we see the world from the inside out, right, you will start to act differently. When you act differently, that creates a ripple in a system. When 5 of you are acting differently, 10 of you are acting differently, 100, 1,000, 10,000, a million, 10 million people start acting differently, a billion, all because they start to change how they are on the inside, the world changes. And when you start to have more sense of freedom and mastery about how you feel and think in the world, and are less at the effect of the storm of the outside insanity or the outside construct, then it becomes a lot easier just to be the true you. And finding your joy is a little tool. Because once you have a taste of that joy and you reconnect with it more, then guess what? You're not going to want to give that up. And you're going to want more because that's part of the human experience. We love. We're hungry for more. We love on a biochemical level. We have dopamine hits. We get little highs. We're doing things we feel are rewarding. We're kind of all junkies. And I'm talking on the body level only. There are many levels to our existence, and each of us has got our own journey into what we believe there. So I'm sharing just my belief that yes, you're a body. There's lots of systems about how the body works. I also believe that we're connected to everything that there's a connection, you might want to call it spiritual, infinite, the universe, the divine, whatever. I don't really care for labels, but we're the spark of all of creation, and part of it is playing in a body. How do you explain the existence of humanity and itself, the existence of anything, if there wasn't something, some divine spark, as I call it, that it's coming from? And I'm not necessarily talking about the word of God, that people would call God. If that works for you, fine. What works for you? So, guys, I hope there's something in there from today's little sharing, right? About finding your joy, finding the joy in any moment, finding a sense of ease or peace or less, and then tapping into what makes you feel a bit more alive. And using that awareness and incorporating more of that in your daily life. Take one thing creates, that you've noticed makes you feel more calm, and start using it throughout the day. Become OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, right? About that, that one little thing that creates a little bit more peace and ease in your world, or makes you feel a bit more alive. Like, really use it. The way a little kid learns to walk, where they just keep trying and trying and trying and trying and trying. Become that, finding that one little thing, just one little thing. It's much easier for us to embed one little habit. When I work with somebody, when I coach somebody, when I teach somebody, I often share a skill with them, and I just get them to practice it in different situations, different scenarios, depending on what they've kind of come to me to work on. Often it's around their work, their career, their relationships within their work, how they feel about themselves, which of course affects everything. But by doing that repetitive thing, and one, they start to disrupt the pattern of what's creating crunch in their world, but they then start to build a muscle, a new set of neural pathways, synaptic connections, a new sense of connection to their true self, their true identity, their spirituality. There's more than just this experience. Their sense of belief in themselves, that sense of self-approval, a sense of confidence to speak up, to take care of what matters to them, to feel more alive and they feel like they want to be here, right? To feel less effect of what's going on around them. So take one little thing and start playing with that this week, this month, whatever, this day. Whatever works for you. Guys, thanks so much for joining me today, whether it's now, in the future, on a replay, feel free to share this with as many people as possible. Apologize for the drops of Wi-Fi in between. It is what it is. What can I say? My phone was doing its thing. Hey, how does it get even better than that? And I'll see you next Monday. I'll share the link for the YouTube channel on the Facebook, and for those people who prefer to look at YouTube. And hey, who knows? Maybe Spina will join me next week, and we'll chat about whatever we chat about. But I hope we keep kind of sharing tools with you and tips with you that I think will be a contribution. At least that's joyous for me. Brenda, you're very, very welcome, my darling. Thank you so much for joining. It's joyous for me, and so that's why I do it. Big love. Have a great evening, or whatever time it is in the world for you right now. Ciao for now.